will keep continuing. So I just want to note that there. So the Unified Minds Crustle, very interesting Crustle here. Don't know why I did that one. And you see that there are Japanese Crustles on TCG Player. I actually did not see that yesterday when I was looking for Crustles, but that is new. I didn't see that the other day. And this one I did watch list some Crustles. Now, the one thing about this one I'm not a huge fan of is one, it looks like a kind of stock scan photo. Two, there's no picture of the back. So if I really want to swing on this one, I will ask for a picture of the back of the card. But I'm not exactly sure. It has a good price, but I mean, it could be a not so good looking back side of the card, then I may not swing on it. So this card for the reverse holo is running around that price, around 225, 279. There are not too many other reverse holos that I can find that are shipped from the US. So, I mean, this one initially looks good, but it's not really that good because it's 465. I mean, this one I could potentially get because it's the reverse holo, the common, and then a dweeble if I wanted to get both of them. But, you know, we'll see depending on how the value is of the card. Maybe I'll swing on that one instead. But the reverse holo seems to be going for a lot higher than I thought. So that is just something to note there. So I guess I'll just look at this one here. I'm just very curious in that one. So Unified Minds, the 3 Crustles, they don't have the back picture of these cards and they're in LP condition. So I don't really know what the conditioning is for that one. So even though it's a pretty good deal, I don't really know. I think one of them here, I think this one has pictures, which I was kind of leaning a little bit more towards this one just because it had a lot of pictures. I think they're relatively around like my range for a seller, but in terms of feedback, if I remember correctly, it was actually pretty good, if I remember correctly. So like the seller was doing pretty well there. So yeah, they have a pretty good track record for the card. So I don't know. I was really leaning towards this one, this Crustle. Oh no, not this one. This one here. I was leaning towards that one to purchase from Unified Minds. I did have this one here, but the seller, if I remember correctly, had a couple negative feedbacks and like how they ship cards. So I'm not saying it's a total deterrent, but this one seems to be more in line with what I'm looking for in terms of the amount of pictures and stuff like that. So that is really good there. And I think I covered most of the Crustles that I need to get for the master set. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all of them. I could look up the Legendary Treasures one, but I think we did look at that one earlier. But let's just look at that one again one more time. 14. So I think I'm starting to narrow down which listings I want. And for me, it's just depending on whether I want to kind of bulk buy or not. But this one's not too bad. If I can make an offer on this one, it's not too bad. Otherwise, I was thinking about going for this listing, which is the common form of this Crustle. But I get the Dweeble too, but it's near mint condition. They actually sent me an offer, so that wasn't too bad. And maybe I can negotiate with them with the offer that they sent to see what I can get for this. And if I get the common card, that's not too bad, because like this one, $3, unless I could get that one down, it would maybe be more advantageous for me to get the common. I just have the Dweeble for something I don't even know what for, but I will say the reverse holo for this card does not come around very often, so you can charge whatever the market price is for the reverse holo, just because as you notice here, there are not any other than this one here. That is like the sole reverse holo here. And one thing I wanted to note too is that a lot of these cards on TCG Player, there are not many listings for these cards. I know some of them, let's see the reverse holo here, so like 48 cents, but Oh, this one has quite a few, but I'm not too familiar. It's like $1.27 shipping. So at the end of the day, like even though it's the shipping is in cents and eBay is higher for certain cards, unless I buy from the same seller, like it's gonna be around $2-ish. And I'm taking more of a chance. Like I'm paying in terms of eBay more for like the pictures and maybe the service that the seller is going to utilize. So that is something I just wanted to note, especially for the let's see, the oh yeah, this guy. I just opened another one of this, but that's okay. We'll go to this one. So this guy, conditioning near mint, reverse hollow foil, 325. There is only one listing. There are no other listings for this card. So I think I have a better chance with this one on eBay. And I'm not opposed to buying on TCG Player. I just don't really know the system. And just from actually selling one card on TCG Player, there's no tracking involved, because if you ship with TCG Player, they don't have a kind of low-end card tracking system like eBay. So you send probably with a regular forever stamp from the post office, so you're kind of dependent on the USPS postal system for the card to get to you, and that's not always like best case scenario, just because you never know what will happen with USPS, and if the card disappears, you have to get a refund. And it might have been just easier to save your time buying on eBay. Now, I'm not saying that eBay is perfect either, but at least you have some type of limited tracking, for me at least, as a buyer. And that kind of eases some peace of mind, especially as a seller too, for me as well. That eases some peace of mind for both me, the seller, and the buyer, or for me this time as the buyer. So there is this one. That's actually pretty good to note. This one probably, even with sales tax, will be relatively close to eBay. I have 41 cents, so that's about $1.68, not including sales tax. What is the Unified Minds one going for? $2.25, free shipping. So relatively, TCG Player is probably a better price there, but I've not bought off TCG Player, but I'm not opposing it, so I will look into TCG Player here. And see if I want to try TCG Player. It could be a good experiment, but I was just really looking at eBay just for the pictures. And my friend has told me in the past that like when you buy off TCG Player, like he's bought off there so much, he doesn't really use eBay for low end stuff. He buys off TCG Player, and he just kind of, you know, will look for the level 4 sellers only. I don't think he goes for non-level 4 sellers on TCG Player. And he knows which sellers sell or ship pretty well and give good service. So he already has kind of like a list for himself, or sellers that he can kind of reference to, look back to, see what cards they have if he's looking for them. But most of the time he looks for level 4 sellers. So that's kind of what I've been trained to do kind of by him, as he kind of taught me the TCG kind of player system. And, you know, maybe I may try TCG Player for this, but we will see. I will debate about that depending on what I find on eBay as well. But I want to take a look at one card. Actually, I want to see how much this one goes for on TCG Player reverse hollow, because maybe I might try TCG Player. It does seem a little bit lower. I just don't know what it looks like. So oh, that actually might be a better deal on TCG Player than eBay. So I'll keep that in mind, actually. Let me see if they have any other Crustle cards. I may do that actually as well. I might not fully purchase everything from eBay, but the one thing here is, yeah, I can't search for Crustle. So, I mean, I have to sift through all their inventory, which could be kind of a pain, because all I'm looking for is Crustle. So I'm not sure about that, but regardless, this is a really interesting experiment, and You know, I mean, eBay kind of does upcharge a lot for a lot of these cards. I mean, I noticed on there that they're kind of upcharging. But at the same time, if you think about it, for this card, I think it was $1 plus 69 cents shipping, not including sales tax. That's not far off from TCG player market price here, because 4 cents, add 4 cents. Sure, it's still like $1.31, but not including sales tax. So that is cheaper by 30 cents. So that is not bad. I mean, like with this person, they have a picture here, but it's not really, I mean, it is that, but I'm not familiar with TCG player. But hey, maybe I'll be trying TCG player for this, getting the collection. So you never know. Maybe we'll buy off TCG player, maybe we'll buy a couple off eBay and go from there. I think maybe the lower end ones I may try TCG player, but the higher end one, like the like this guy, I may go to eBay and buy this one. It may be a little bit higher, but I think this one and the other one are relatively close in terms of pricing. So yeah, $4.57 best offer, free shipping. This one's about oh yeah, relatively close. So if I can get this guy down in terms of price, I may just swing on this one first, and I probably will go for this one and kind of take a chance for the Crustle. So interesting there. Okay, what I may do is make an offer, and if you've never made an offer before, sometimes you can make an offer, you say like 5, like, but that's like the buy now price. But like you could go like 2, sometimes, like, yeah, so say like the seller will most likely respond to your offer if it's around this point. So I used to do this, I don't do this anymore, but I have a relative range of, you could set a relative range of where you want the offer to be, and if it goes below there, it won't even recognize it. So now I kind of know what the low end value is for the Crustle card. So before it kind of rejects the offer, there is like, you could put like a minimum and it'll reject offers much lower than that. I decided not to do that because in case I do want to kind of play ball with some of these buyers that I can kind of negotiate. If you don't want to negotiate that much, then you kind of set the minimums, as I kind of used to do, but now I don't, and I like to negotiate when I get a chance if I do put on offers. Again, I don't put on offers very often. Sometimes eBay puts it on automatically, but sometimes I do. So this is what offers look like. And you can send up to 5 offers, and like that includes counter offers and stuff like that on eBay. And there even is a button here for how it works. So you can read this guide, but I just have done it by that. So like if you do 343, so it'll tell you kind of like what they prefer, like, oh, this is way too low, $3, oh, this is way too low, 320, oh, that didn't do it, so 315, yeah, it's like way too low, 320, 318 is way too low. So like 320 is probably like the lowest that they'll go to. So very interesting there, really interesting exercise. Off camera, I may strike a deal. I may send an offer for this card because I kind of want to get this card first, because it's one of the harder cards to find for Crustle. So I don't know when these Crustle buyer POVs will come out, but they may come out before I even do the delivery day for the master set, but we'll see. It may or may not, but I may do this one off camera just because that is a very interesting exercise for me to do there. And not all of the sellers have the option for that. Now this one is a moderately played card, and this one I think, oh, this one was not the one I saw earlier. There was one earlier I saw of one of the Crustle cards that was lightly played, but it looked like it had some whitening or a dent in it, so I couldn't really tell. But this one's actually not bad for a moderately played card. So there are a few options that I have here. These are some of the options that I'm keeping in mind to purchase, and you may see those being purchased in the future in a delivery day video when I do that. These are the ones I have in mind. This one I do have in mind. So these are the ones I have in mind to purchase. Yeah, these are the ones I have in mind. But I also will kind of look through TCG Player really briefly just to double check. So $1.41. How much is the Unified Minds one? $2.25. So this guy here. Let's pull up a calculator. Cool. Pull up a calculator. 127 plus 0.49. 176. Not including sales tax. So sales tax. Yeah, it might be lower for TCG Player. Interesting. Okay. For this card. Okay. It might be lower. So let's go with the 41 cents, 0.41 plus 1.27, 168. Okay. 168. So I'm assuming it's probably gonna be $1 sales tax. So it's gonna be like 268. And this one would probably be about 225. Probably sales tax will be that. So I may consider it, or I may consider this one just for the limited tracking. I may pay up a little bit more just because these are cheaper, but I'm not sure about the tracking. But there may be a couple here that I might purchase and just give it a shot in terms of tracking and seeing how that goes for TCG Player. And that might be an interesting video. So